Okay, so this is The Last of Us Part 2 remastered for PC. I figured I'd do a quick video on it, and this is the first time doing a commentary while I'm playing it for the first time as well. So I have fired up the game already, I have set the settings up, and I've observed some things within the first 5 minutes or so. So I just wanted to talk about those, and we'll fire the game up just so I can show you how quickly it loads. For those wondering, I am on a 12700KF CPU. It is not overclocked or anything. I'm also on a RTX 4090. That is undervolted and slightly overclocked. So the memory, the VRAM is plus 1100 megahertz, and the boost clock is set to its fixed 2730 megahertz. So that's about it really. Just going to lower the game volume a bit. And that's it. Memory is DDR4 3600 megahertz CL18, so nothing spectacular. It's a fairly old spec machine, to be honest, other than the 4090, sorry. And it is a Zotac 4090 Trinity, not the OC edition. It's just the standard edition. So the game itself loads pretty quick. You can't skip these intro sequences. You've got to kind of sit through them. And I have already, as you probably saw just there, I am running preset K, so I have swapped over the DLL files because the game ships with DLSS DLL files version 3.7. You probably want to swap those out for the 3.10 or 3.10 builds or later, which will allow you to use preset K via NVIDIA Profile Inspector. I don't use the NVApp overlay manual override because I don't find that works too well for most games. It's hit and miss. Whereas the Profile Inspector method works 100% of the time, all the time. As you can see there, it's preset K. So just go into settings quickly, show you what I'm using. I am on a 32-inch OLED display, 240Hz, so I've got those set at 4K. VSync is off. I'm not running G-Sync or any sort of adaptive sync, just because I don't like VRR flicker. It's just a personal choice. You can choose to use G-Sync or whatever sync you want. With G-Sync off, I find there is zero VRR flicker. Because I'm on an OLED, it's kind of obvious on games which are dark. So games like this, Cyberpunk and so on, anywhere there's dark scenes, you tend to notice it quite extensively. So there is that. I am also using a frame rate cap. It's not on at the moment, it's just to demonstrate for this purpose of this video. And normally I'd be running at about 100 FPS cap, but I'm running DLAA at the moment just so I can show what the game runs like at native 4K with DLAA using preset K. And the other settings are fairly standard. There is, as the Digital Foundry video showed, overbearing on CPU utilization. It's not really using it to the best effect. Although my performance results seem to be better than what Ryzen users are seeing. I think this does favour Intel CPUs quite a lot more than Ryzen for some reason, but yeah, that's what you get with quite a lot of games these days. The upscale sharpness, a default of 5, I did not like. I found that a bit too sharp, so I dropped that down to 2. Dynamic resolution scaling is on by default, and the game did set itself to the high GFX preset by default as well, so I changed all of those. I'll show those in a moment. Cinematic pillar boxes are off. I'm not on an ultra-wide display, so I don't really care about having those on or not. I just want everything to be 16:9, so I've got that. Brightness I didn't really change because I found that to be perfectly fine anyway. Frame generation I haven't used yet in this game. I didn't need it. 4090, don't need it really, even at 4K DLAA, as you'll see shortly. The other settings are fairly standard, so nothing too extraordinary there. I'm going to press Q to go into GFX settings. And as you can see, I've whacked everything up to the very high preset, or as high as they will go. 16x anisotropic filtering, that's set to 8x by default. You need to set that to 16x. You're on PC, it's kind of a free setting anyway. It has no impact on frame rate, so just stick that to 16x, no worries. And because of the GPU that I'm on, everything else is set to max. You may need to follow the Digital Foundry guide on optimized settings if you're on a lower GPU and just sort of increase things slowly until you get to a balance that you like. But for me, settings that I don't like: chromatic aberration 0, film grain 0, lens blur I don't mind too much, camera shake I don't mind too much, field of view is maximized. It was on 5 by default. Actually no, I think it might be on 0 by default. Yeah, so I set that to 10 just because I like a wide field of view. And there is another one, motion blur is set to 0 as well. That's on by default. I'm not a fan of motion blur, to be honest with you. I might even turn depth of field down, because when you're zooming in, when you hold the right mouse button and you zoom in with the camera, it does blur frontal elements of the scene, and sometimes I don't like that, but sometimes I do for screenshots and things. So I don't know yet. I might leave that on for now. But yeah, everything else is on max. So let's just see how long it takes to load the game. Just keep note that from the Digital Foundry review, if you do have VSync on or any kind of frame sync on or frame rate cap on, the loading times do increase quite substantially, so it can quadruple at times as well, depending on the sync that you set, the frame rate cap that you set. So if you're at 60 Hertz or 60 FPS, then you will see increased load time. So I've got the frame rate cap off at the moment, so I'm just going to go into story and then continue. So it shouldn't take too long at all. So this is again 4K DLAA using transformer model or the preset K, and we're getting 70 FPS here. And because of reflex, it is very responsive. So I am on a 2000 Hertz. My mouse is set to 2000 Hertz polling rate at the moment, and it is instant in responsiveness. Even though I am below 80 FPS, unlike other games, I don't feel any latency or anything at all. It is just instant, and it does appear to be smooth when I move the camera around. So in the first game, the part 1, before they patched it up to fix all the issues, that frame rate or the frame time graph that you can see on the top left, that would manifest as motion judder when I'm moving the camera around like this. But it doesn't seem to do that here, even though the graph is showing some micro jitter. It appears smooth for me. Now, I'm not using G-Sync, I'm not using V-Sync, and I'm not seeing any tearing either. No matter how fast or how slow I move it, there is no tearing. But yeah, the performance is very good so far. All those particles, everything is very nice. Now, this is what I meant by the depth of field. So if I zoom in there, now you can see everything at the front. The guitar there is slightly blurred out, which I'm not too much of a fan of, but as I say, screenshots do make it look a bit nicer. But yeah, this is running quite well. 65, 64 FPS. Now, I'm just going to stop here and set DLSS to quality, just so you can see what that runs like. Now, because we're on preset K, we can use 4K DLSS performance, and the visual look is negligible from DLSS quality, and even DLSS quality is negligible from DLAA. But all I'm going to have to do is, it's a bit different where you activate these on here. The moment you enable a upscale mode, it disables DLSS or DLAA, so you'll see that gets locked out. And I'm going to leave it on quality there. So we'll press F to apply, and we'll go back to the game. So now we're at a higher FPS. We're no longer at 60, in the high 60s, low 70s. We're at 100 FPS, 95. This is typically what I'd play most games at. I'd lock it at 100 FPS. And this is what it looks like at DLSS quality. And what I'll do, I'll go down here and then I'll switch to DLSS performance, just so you can see what the frame rate is like. Because of the CPU utilization in this game, the frame rate I found doesn't change a whole lot when dropping from DLSS quality to performance. And again, everything is super responsive and super smooth, just like with DLAA. Just my GPU is going to work a lot less hard this time round. Yeah, the graphics in this are super clean. There's no jaggies or flickering that I can see so far. Everything, all the foliage, all the grass blades, everything looks super crisp. Okay, so it's probably a good time to drop it to DLSS performance, just so you can see what that is like. F to save. So it's now 100, just over 100 FPS, 104, 106. So yeah, like I said, it doesn't change a whole lot. It's gone from 100 FPS, only increased by about 7. But visually, it looks just the same to me. I don't know how it's going to record in the video, but yeah, you could use this all day long easily. So for all RTX users out there, definitely swap the DLLs over to the latest and enforce preset K, because it's not going to use it by default. You need to use Profile Inspector or whatever method you find most comfortable. So let's just carry on. So now we've dropped to 90, in the 90s FPS range. So I'm interested in seeing what the DLAA would look like here. So it's the CPU usage or the CPU utilization. It's not really that well optimized, just like the first game, even in its current state. So we're going to disable DLSS and we're going to leave DLAA on. I like that everything in these settings can be just toggled quickly. There's no fuss, there's no slow waiting for animations or anything. So yeah, there you go. So 75 FPS, 74, 75 FPS with DLAA 4K. Still very responsive, but you can tell it's at a lower FPS now, just because of the drop in frame rate and motion from the frame rate. So we're going to go back to DLSS. I'm going to stick to performance. So DLSS performance. I'm not going to bother with frame generation just because it's not needed. Yeah, so now we're back to something more reasonable. Yeah, so normally on DLSS performance in some other games that don't use preset K, or when you're not using preset K, those distant lights, specular highlights and so on, you would see them flicker, but not so here. Everything is just really smooth and crisp, well detailed. In fact, I might change the sharpness to 3. 5 is a bit too sharp, but I think 3 should be okay. Yeah, that's a decent balance, at least to my eyes anyway. So the 12700 KF is fairly laboured there. Sorry, not laboured. It's fairly slacked there. I can see 2 E-cores are being maxed out, or were being maxed out. That's a bit unusual. I would have expected my P-cores to be doing most of the work there, not the E-cores.
Can't say I've done different.
The game is using quite a bit of VRAM there as well, just a shade over 10 gig of VRAM.
I'll take it to the grave if I have to.
Which is fairly standard for a 4K output, although this is DLSS performance.
I'll see you later.
But again, look at the distance in the background there. All of the lights, there's no flickering or anomalies or anything at all. Preset K is doing a great job. A little bit of flickering on the street lamp there, just at the top. It's kind of expected. So I haven't actually seen this part of the game yet. This is the first time playing through this section. Only just installed the game within the last half an hour or so. You can't actually skip these. I can't see a button or a prompt to skip. See if there's an option in the menu. Oh, skip cinematic. Yes, so we'll skip that for now. I've played this game already before on console. And we'll skip this one as well. Oh, you can't. Okay. This is one of the tedious parts from the console. All the memories are coming back. Should be over fairly quickly.
Were to lose you, I surely lose myself. Everything.
Okay, so you can skip them once you've passed the bits where you need to actually press something. Try and skip these ones as well. I wish there was a prompt, a button just to skip it instead of going to the main menu to skip. Right, so here we go. So one thing I love about these games is the ambient lighting, the shadows. It's not ray traced or anything like that, but they've done it so well. And there's so much detail. But we're pushing over 100 FPS, 150 FPS here. This is indoors, obviously, so you kind of expect that.
Sure.
Let's see if there's mirrors work. Yeah, so just like the first game. And DLSS performance, but everything is, once again, super crisp and smooth. But you can tell this is an old game, the textures and the engine.
Hey, is Joel up?
Got reports of infected out north. We sent him and Tommy out early to scout.
That sucks.
Yep. Can't imagine they got much sleep. Definitely not as much as you.
Shut up. I was just about to get up. I was.
You got everything?
Yes.
Yeah, so the
Heads up.
detailing,
Town this morning.
little particle effects and things you get are
What?
quite cool.
Let me see if I got this right. You kissed Dina.
She kissed
See a
me.
little snow dust kicking up from
Triggered Seth to
Ellie's
call
feet.
you a not so nice word.
Yep.
Then Joel decked him,
More of a push.
and then you got mad at Joel. That part confused me.
It was a strange night, man.
So far, interesting to note, I have not seen
Sounds
any
exciting.
frame time stutters yet. No traversal stuttering, no shader stuttering.
Where is she?
Digital Foundry's video showed lots of
No clue.
stutters throughout the frame time, but I've not seen anything yet. There's no hitches or anything like that. So that's quite interesting. Again, that was on a Ryzen CPU.
We're okay, right?
You and me? Yeah, of course. Dina and I are good.
I know. It's just, I don't want you to think.
Ellie,
So that frame time graph
promise.
isn't perfectly flat, but again, it's not manifesting as jitters on screen, at least not with me in person. Playing back the video may show something different, but at the moment, I've not seen any issues yet. Just take a screenshot. That jitter was me.
Hey, old timer. Yeah, get a good scratch.
Yeah, it just looks really nice.
Oh, hi. Want to grab some breakfast?
No.
So those textures there on the door, just as she was going through, they were really low. It's like they didn't load in time or something. Can't go back out to test. But yeah, I noticed that immediately.
Excuse me.
Ellie, there you are. Come here.
See if I can skip this. Yeah. So this is what it does. The game doesn't compile all shaders at the start anymore in the main menu like the first game did. It compiles shaders as you go. So end background now, it's going to, as I traverse through the land, it's going to compile shaders that it will need later
When
on.
you go out, I want you to trade off with Tommy and Joel. Those boys have been up for far too long.
Where do I meet them?
If you go up to the northwest lookout, they're scheduled
Let's
to
go have a
arrive
look at
there.
this horse.
Watch yourself. There's too many sightings of infected recently.
Of course. I was gonna check out the creek trails. I'll need
Still
someone
think the
else.
horses in Red Dead 2
Hey,
look
Ellie.
better.
You know the creek trails?
Not really.
Dina's done it a bunch. I'll have the two of them take it.
Well, that solves that.
So we'll get a small portion of the way into the start of the game and then I'll call the video there, but I just wanted to show that on an older CPU with DDR4 RAM, it's, as long as you've got a decent GPU, games like this, even though they do have performance issues on other systems, it's not bad at all.
So,
I mean, that frame time graph hasn't really shifted at all, other than me taking the screenshots, which causes a spike like that.
And I'm sure you
Then,
didn't mean to.
yeah, it's been perfectly
Yeah?
fine.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sorry to pry. Be safe.
Thanks.
Yo, Dina, assignment.
My memory of this game is coming back. First played it when it came out. I had bought the console just to play this game, or at least the series, and then eventually waiting one day when the PC version would come out.
Can I talk to you?
Now it's finally here.
I'm tapping out. Come on, how long?
Hey.
Hey.
Those snow effects are quite cool.
I just want to say sorry for running off last night. Oh, it's okay. I totally get it.
We'll cut this, skip this cutscene. I found this bit quite tedious as well, but it's a snowball fight, so
Suckers! Eat that. Ow!
Damn! Arm on that kid!
Oh!
so this is actually much nicer to play with a mouse and keyboard than it is with a controller. At least my last memory is with the controller.
Miss me!
Got it.
Oh, you like that? Oh, I'm coming for you, Tiny.
Let's get this kid.
Oh, suck it! Boo! Eat snow, you little shit! Oh, dang it! I see you. In your face!
I'm gonna come over there and fight you, like, for real.
Ow! I know where you live, Alex. We're winning.
Can't remember how long this goes on for.
No, no, no.
There we go.
No fair. Eat it, shrimps. Hey. How's it feel? No. Get him.
Right, let's skip this. Oh, you can't.
Help me. You'll never get away with this. Get off of her, you monsters.
All right, we actually have some work to do.
So this is all happening in screen space, and I don't really miss ray tracing or anything like that at all, just because games like this, and Uncharted are another prime example, they just do rastered rendering so well.
Jesse wants us to do the creek trail.
They're not without their flaws,
He's
but
gonna relieve Joel and
to this
Tommy.
level of polish, it's just, you don't miss
You're
it.
gonna like this route.
Although the optimization could be argued that the performance feels like it's running ray traced game, not rastered, which is fair.
Hey, ladies. I'll bring 'em in.
Thank you.
Yeah, frame time graph still no issues.
That's a good girl. Look who's here.
Thanks. Come on.
Just a note on the DLSS front as well. I haven't actually played this with the DLSS versions that come out of the box. As soon as I install the game, I swap the DLLs over. I see there's no point to do testing for that anyway, being as it's a free upgrade in visual quality and performance in some cases as well. There's no reason not to do it
Settle down, children.
for at least every RTX user.
All right. You all know the drill. Run your routes, mark your logbooks.
See if we can skip this. Yeah, just the motion and the cutscenes and things, just general graphics in this game, it just feels like I'm watching a animated movie, like something from Pixar. They're so clean and so crisp. So I'll skip this cinematic as well. So it's like each new area that you start to play on, it caches, preloads those shaders.
Come on, this way.
It's cold. You sure you don't want to do this when the sun's out? And it's warmer?
Yeah, so same as before, no issues with smoothness whatsoever.
And you don't
G-Sync
wanna
is off,
tell me?
V-Sync is off, as mentioned, but there's no juddering, there's no stuttering, there's no tearing. It's just completely smooth. That'll be down to mainly because my refresh rate is 240 Hz, so that probably helps mitigate noticing any sort of micro tearing that might be taking place. I mean, I'm sure there probably is, but it's not. It's the refresh rate is high enough that it just doesn't register to my eyeballs, at least. I think we've seen enough to know that
Just drive
at least on a
all the way
12th gen CPU
I've thought
with
about it.
DDR4 RAM, as long as you've got a decent GPU, you're good to go.
Yeah, I don't see that living up to his stories somehow.
Yeah, no
Or an
problem.
Intel CPU.
You did all this in the dark?
Yes? Now come on.
We keep going like this, we're gonna be tired for the day's trip.
It's not that far.
Hey, is Mel okay? She seemed out of it these past few days.
She'll be fine.
You stop being
Actually
weird,
forgotten
freak
what
me
these
out.
bits
I'm not being
are
weird.
like.
Careful jumping over these.
You're breaking up with Mel.
What? No. You wish.
I've had my fill. Hi.
Come on. Hey, eyes on me. Abby, stop looking down.
I think this bit goes on for a few more minutes.
Consider it.
Have you told anyone else?
Wanted you to see it first. Saw an armed patrol go from town to an outpost over there.
Skip these as well.
I don't give a fuck. I'll do the whole thing alone.
Ooh, that is nice. The little glistening of the snow crystals, ice crystals on the snow. Check that out. I don't remember seeing that on the PlayStation. Oh, that is very good. Wow. And we're at 170 FPS here as well. Not a single hitch so far. Okay, so holding back in space turns quickly. Cool. That is insanely good. I like that. Just get a close-up screenshot of that snow. Right, let's carry on.
You alive?
Right, I get to use my gun now. So aiming is fine. I've not changed any of the controls yet, but it feels responsive and smooth.
That's a lot of them.
There's nothing to loot here if I remember right. Can't remember which way to go actually. It's up here. And that's where I came down from. Let's go through here, yeah. Yeah, those snow particles are really cool.
Oh shit.
I can't actually remember what the flashlight button was. I am pressing F. 130 FPS plus still. Okay, so the guns have good feel, or at least from the sound. Okay, I can't remember where to go again. Ah, yeah. Okay, well, I'll leave the game there, but as you can see, it runs perfectly smooth. There's no issues with stuttering or anything like that. I will create a new save, actually, manual save. And we're just going to exit out of the game. So far, initial impressions are, it's a good port, at least for my spec machine, GPU at least anyway. The CPU and RAM are old gen, a few gens old now. But yeah, it runs good. No issues whatsoever.